Alrighty. I decided to go ahead and get that fork. That that's one of my favorite tools right there, the garden fork. And it's a short handle, right? It comes up to about my belt line, or yeah, around there. And this is just one of my favorites. As you can see, I've already been sticking the fork in the ground and just loosening it. One thing I have found over time is that, like the day after a good rain, after it starts to dry up just a little bit, not much, dry enough to where it's not going to stick all over the bottom of your shoes. You get your garden fork and you come out here and you just start sticking it in the dirt. Here, I'll show you. So this is that. All right, that's my hugelkultur bed. This is that other raised bed. Well, I'm going to take this raised bed and I'm going to clean it up, but I'm also going to extend it back this way, say like another 6 feet or so. So I'm going to have a raised bed, that one. Safe from about right there is where the end of it is. And there's this end of it, but I'm going to bring it all the way down, like even with these here. So I guess I can give you a better view from this side of here. So there's that raised bed. You can see those 2 rows that I've already started digging over there. So I'm going to bring that raised bed out. So it's really going to go from like right there all the way to here. So it's going to be a pretty long raised bed. And I'm going to do the same thing with this hugelkultur one, but from here on up this way, it's just going to be regular, just regular dirt, raised bed, turned over dirt, and add some compost to it and everything. But I'm going to leave that portion as, what it is already. I'm just going to get the weeds out of it and the roots, stuff like that. So I've already got a good start on a nice little growing area here. And by the time I get this done today, I'm going to have, something planted. And everywhere where I turn over the dirt, I'll go ahead and I'll get something planted. I'm not really sure what I'm going to plant in these areas yet. It just kind of comes to me as I go, right? I do still need to trim this tree. That'll come later. I don't like to come out here with my electric chainsaw right after a rain, because the ground is moist and I don't want to get stuck between the electric chainsaw or the extension cord and the ground, because that's how electricity flows. It's from positive to negative, right? It goes from where the charge is down to ground. And I do not want to electrocute myself, so I'm not going to mess with trimming the trees right now. But I am going to sit out here and I am going to work, using this garden fork to turn the soil. And when the ground's moist, not soggy, but just moist, like the ground's absorbed it like a sponge, the water from the rain, that is a good time to come out here and turn the soil, because the soil is so much easier to work with. And let me show you right here. That's where I had that stuck a while ago. But you can see that's the end of that raised bed area. I'll just take this, stick it down there. Just use my own body weight. And then I just do that. Just kind of rock it back and forth. Scoot over a couple of inches. In that case, I think it's more like 3 or 4 inches. Of course, you can see some of those roots that need to get out. But by loosening the soil, right, I'll be able to, loosen the soil more and more and more as I go, because I'll be going back over these, loosening them more. And the looser the soil is, the easier it is, to get roots out, to get the, any kind of big rocks or anything like that that might be in there. So I just do this, and see, I can do this with one hand. That's why I like this. You know, it's comfortable. It's easy to operate. I can put my foot here or here and push, right? And then I just rock it. And I'll just do this over this whole thing and, you know, loosen the soil, and I'll be able to come back and, you know, get those roots out, kind of like turn the soil around and over on itself, and then this area will be ready for planting. I don't really do anything fancy. I don't have any fancy gardening tools. You know, I do have one of those little Mantis garden tillers, but it only goes down so far. And you don't want to use it when, you know, the ground's wet and yucky, because it just gets all clogged up and yucked up. But anyway, when you do this, worms like to come up to the surface. And I like to just pick up the worms. Oh, there's another one. So I got two there. I'm gonna take those over to my hugelkultur garden and just say, here, go in there. Yeah. All right, back to digging. Oh, so you can see, I've already got a nice little start there. Come up to even with these, I guess. And I'll go back down here and just start coming back this way again and again. And it won't be long, just really minutes, basically. Like if I wasn't sitting here holding the phone with one hand and talking and picking up worms and stuff, I'd be able to knock this out in probably 10 minutes. You know, if the conditions the way it is, it's nice and cool out. And you know, the temperature is fine. Look at that. Even if these, I just come right down here and pick up right here at the end of this little raised bed. I probably ought to just turn this whole thing, or loosen this whole thing. So that was easy to. The areas that I did last year or the year before, they're much easier to work with this year because the soil's not as compact. But you get into an area where you haven't worked the soil. It's just, you know, it could have been like this yard. I'm sure there were gardens back here before, but you know, it could have been 50 years since some of these little areas have been dug. So this ground, you know, just gravity, rain, walking on it, you know, don't know what else has been back here. Could have been an automobile driving through the yard for all I know. You know, all that compacts the soil. And the soil does do things on its own. It expands and contracts based on how much moisture it has in it and how much, you know, life it's got in it. Like plant roots or animals, creatures, bacteria, insects, all that makes a big difference in your soil. And it, you know, helps determine, you know, whether it's a soil that's alive, and this soil is definitely alive. This soil has all kinds of life forms in it. It's got all kinds of good dirt, good bacteria, worms. You know, just looking at it lets me know that. And of course, I have not sprayed any kind of herbicides or pesticides or insecticides or anything like that. One year I did some Sevin dust, but I didn't do it anywhere in this area. I did it down there, near the side of the house where I had tomatoes, and that was because that year was really bad with aphids. And I tried different sprays, different home brew remedies, I guess you could say, for aphids. And then I was like, I don't have time for that. I gotta go to work. I'm spending all my time traveling back and forth to work, trying to get sleep, this and that. It was 100 degrees outside and humid, and mosquitoes would eat me alive. So I was like, screw it, I'm gonna do the 7 dust. And I did the 7 dust a couple of times in a row. Took care of the aphids, took care of the big hornworms, those big giant green ones, because I did discover I had, like 200-300 of those darn things in my tomatoes. But this is a really good start of, using the garden fork and turning the soil. I'm not going down very deep. Basically, not even like up to where you can tell how it's gotten wet a little bit. Not quite a foot, but maybe. But loosening on down there, it makes room for the roots to grow. And every once in a while I hit a rock. You can see me kind of readjust the tongs on the fork. It's because I run across something under there. And who knows? Could be anything down in there. All right, so look at that. How long did that take? It didn't take long at all. But I'm gonna end up having this whole, it's a 4-foot wide area by, I don't know how long it's gonna be, because the original one was 4 by 8. This is gonna be 4 by at least 6. So, I don't know, I'll probably get a measuring thing out here and measure it and see. But I'm gonna have those 2 rows totally done. This 4 foot wide by however many feet done. And then where my hugelkultur bed is, I'll be cleaning some of that up as well. And then having another 4 foot, probably 6 foot this way. So that's a good bit. So maybe by the time I go in to take a break, maybe that's what I'll have done today. All right, well, let me get back on here. Let me get this side done right here. It doesn't really look like it's 4 foot. I'll probably have to tweak it a little bit. But I kind of like it to be usually 4 foot, but I don't know. Because if it's 4 foot wide, then I can reach it, anything on the inside from either side. I don't want it any wider than that. And of course, I always wear my rubber boots. If I was wearing tennis shoes out here, then my tennis shoes would just, over time, would just rot off my feet. Because they would, well, number one, get dirty and wet. And then I'd be sweating in them. And, tennis shoes aren't really made for this kind of work. So I wear my rubber boots. It protects my feet all the way up to my ankles, keeps me basically from, because I don't wear them into the house much. I shouldn't wear them into the house at all, but especially when they're dirty. When they're nice and clean, I will. But when they're dirty, I don't. I just take them off at the back door, or right inside the back door. And, that way I'm not tracking anything into the house. If I do track it into the house, I get fussed at, which is rightly so. And I have to go back behind myself and clean up my mess I make. So, let me, oh, look at that. That spot was a little tough. All right. I did hear something sound like metal down in there, like I hit. It was either a piece of rock or metal. I have found odds and ends in my yard, like old metal pieces of different, for like just odds and ends. I don't know if they're gardening implements or just things that have been thrown back here to be disposed of or whatever. But you never know what you're going to find in the dirt. All right. Look at that. Got a good start on that. And 2 rows there. Another couple hours of working out here. I'm going to have a 4 foot wide by, so it's an 8 foot by 6 foot, or 4 foot by 8 foot plus another 6 foot. And the same with this row here, the hugelkultur row. These two, say 1 foot wide by however long. And I might actually do 2 more coming up this way. That way I would have 4 of these rows and 2 bigger, wider rows. I think that'll be a good start. All right, so, okay, well, I guess I've talked enough. I'm gonna get busy on this and then I'll come back and show you some of the results of what I'm doing. Talk to you later. Bye.